Dan, man, what's up?
Another day.
Another day, yeah. World champ.
World.
How does it feel?
It's awesome. It's unbelievable, man.
Yeah, I. There's not very many things that I can think of that felt that good.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't felt that kind of a emotion in a long time.
Yeah, it was. It was. It was worth it. So, let's talk about that because it was a long road to get to that point.
Yeah.
Uh, COVID and all that. So, anyway, by any of those that are watching that don't know who this is Dan Bramley, captain of the U.S. Rifle Team, F Open, and he's the one that led the team all the way to South Africa, and we got a gold. So we're going to talk about that. It was a long road because of COVID, and anyway, we're going to talk about that. So stick around because it's gonna get interesting. So, how do you even how do you even get into F class?
Well, for me, it was growing up shooting like so many people do. I had a friend that lived down the street who was a machinist, and he disappeared for like 3 months. And when I finally caught up with him, I asked him, where you been? He said, "Oh, I'm learning how to chamber barrels." And I was like, "Oh, you need a project?" And I just did a little research, picked a six dasher, and he chambered up, and I mean that thing shot lights out. And so I thought I'd go shoot a prone match just at our local club, and you know was successful with that kind of a rifle. And it just grew from there. I met a bunch of people, realized there's so many great people in the sport, and from there just kept shooting, and year after year after year, got a little better, met some more people, and for most of us, that's how we're here now.
Yeah, it's uh, it's interesting how some of us have gotten onto the sport.
Hmm.
Like I was a hunter and I just wanted to get better and went to a club match and I'm still going.
Yeah,
I actually quit hunting.
yeah.
Uh, so so you shot a club match. You met good people. You decided you're just gonna keep coming back. Uh, again, that's just the first one free, like the druggies.
Exactly. Yeah.
But so at what point did you? Because I mean, I get it, but there's a big step from I'm gonna go shoot a club match to the level that we do it at
Yeah.
nowadays.
Well, my I shot in 2012 or 13. I shot my first Southwest Nationals with that dasher, and I won a day, and then the next day I missed a target like four times. So I had a nice gun, but had no idea what I was doing. Realized through meeting people that that wasn't the right gun for this game. Talked to people about who did their rifle work and thought this is a lot of fun. I need to invest in the right equipment at least. And once I did that, then it was just a big steep learning curve, trying to figure out how to reload and try to learn to read the wind. And I started off with a mentor like most people do, and he guided me to a certain point and just kept shooting and working on it and trying to learn more and more every day.
Yeah. So at what point? At one point, you started doing your own barrel work,
I did,
correct?
yeah. So that neighbor friend of mine who I had a small 12-inch Logan lathe. The neighbor friend said, "So you gonna start doing your own now?" And I'm like, "No, no, I don't know." It was 6 months later. I had like three sets of reamers and building chucks and spiders for that behind end, and so yeah. So I do my own work. It's mostly just because I enjoy the metal work and you know the ability to have a reamer show up on a Tuesday and be shooting that rifle on a Wednesday kind of thing.
Yeah, that is a very good thing about doing your own work. I often get asked by people if, hey, I know you have your own equipment. Can you chamber me a barrel? Nope.
Yeah,
I don't do it for nobody else
yeah,
because the only reason I have this equipment is so, like you said, if a reamer shows up on Tuesday or like this weekend, I shot the Texas State Championship, and I'm driving back, and I start thinking, oh man, I don't have any more barrels to get me through the, even I'm going to Rattlesnake in a few weeks.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to chamber another barrel. Get home on Sunday evening, chuck up a barrel and start working on it.
Yeah.
And have a barrel by Monday.
Yeah. And, my daughter grew up in the sport, and she shot a 6-dasher for about a month, and then she wanted something bigger, so we built a 6.5 shot that for about a month, and then she wanted something else, so we finally built her a Shahane. So it would be expensive and time consuming to farm all that out, so we can do it in house.
Yeah. So Madison, she actually did. Man, she's a hell of a shooter.
She does well.
I know she's broke a few records, national records, and just, I mean, she's whooped on all of us at one point or another. She's good.
Yeah, she's a a really good shooter, and pretty good kid.
So, how do you end up being the captain of the U.S. rifle team?
Well, and normally the team, the traveling team, selects or asks for nominations. When I got selected, it was a little different in time past. We didn't have the numbers of shooters that we have now. So they asked for nominations. I really didn't, you know, foresee myself running this team. And when the vote started, I found out that my name was on the list. Somebody had nominated me. I didn't know who it was. And the team voted, and I was selected. So, we started from scratch. There's not a lot of information to be gleaned from previous captains. So, we just started at the bottom and muddled our way through until we finally got some idea what we were doing.
So that was back in 2017, correct?
Correct.
So typically the World Championship is every 4 years. So the following World Championship was supposed to happen in 2021.
Right.
However, COVID happened, and the World Championship got pushed back 1 year originally, correct?
Correct. We were the only team that voted to shoot it. Everybody else voted to push it back a year.
So then it gets pushed back another year to 23.
Yep. Us and the Italians were the only team that voted to shoot it. Everybody else voted to push it back another year.
So what was that like? You typically it's a 4-year cycle. This time you have to go all the way to South Africa. There was concerns about security, obviously COVID. There was so many concerns about different things, and additionally, getting an entire team down to South Africa. I mean, I've never been there.
Right.
So what was that
Yeah,
like?
it was tough. It was really tough. Pete and I went over there in 2019 to kind of, feel out the landscape, assess the safety, look at hotels, look at the range, try and get a feeling for the range, find out what it's like to have to submit a permit to South Africa for a rifle. That made it a little bit easier for us, but it was terrible trying to get all the guys were geared up, ready to go, and then we put it off a year. A lot of guys kind of lost the momentum, put it off another year. Now we're dealing with completely different rifles that people have been shooting during tryouts for 4 years already. It was tough. It was hard to kind of keep the team motivated and ready to go when it's a lot of, okay, we have to plan like we're going to shoot it this year, and then it gets postponed. So in South Africa is a wonderful place. It's just there's a lot of logistical hurdles to get through.
Right. So what, some of the things that I get asked often is logistically, what needs to happen, right? So, now I'll let you expand on that a little more, but I'm just going to touch on the kind of fine points of, number one, you got to get a team together. You know, people that are willing to go, that are able to go, and that have the ability to to make the team a strong team. Number one. Two, you got to get the team down there, right? So you need rifle permits. You need to get the ammo down there. You need to, you know, I mean, we're gone for what, 3 weeks or so.
Yeah.
So they need to be able to have the ability, time off from work. There's just so much that needs to fall in place. So what was the hardest part out of all that?
I think the hardest part probably was a combination of the permits and, just trying to keep the guys moving forward. It's one thing to send an email out and say, hey, fill this out and get it back to me in a week. But it's another thing to get it back in a week. And so the permits were tough. And we had filled out a permit last year, but it was for one person, one rifle. And so, in South Africa, it's not clear cut, and the police have different rules and philosophies than the government. And so we were told we had to have two separate permits. So everybody fills out two separate permits. Then the police come back and tell us, no, they both have to be on one. South Africa takes a serial number off the barrel. They don't recognize the actions. And so everybody had to put serial numbers on their barrels. So permits probably the toughest. We had a flight schedule, so everybody was able to get their flights. And some people flew on their own, so that wasn't too bad. Transportation was another problem, and we worked well with TR, but it's a big machine when you get 55 guys trying to all get from place to place and permits in place. And the ammo was difficult. We went through quite a bit of negotiations on how and when we were going to ship ammo, and who was going to handle the permits on the South African side. And that there was some amount of time there that we weren't sure we were going to have ammo in South Africa. So it was the ammo and probably the permits were the most challenging.
Now, something most people may not realize is how early we have to send the ammo, like months and months in advance.
Yeah. So
what do we do? 6 months?
Yeah. Well, we were leaving April, and we had our ammo in Missouri in November.
Okay. So 6
Yeah,
months.
6 months,
Right.
and we got our ammo 2 days before the match started.
Yeah. So we're literally all ready to go, and the ammo's not there yet.
Yeah,
but luckily you made it.
I mean, for those guys that want to know really kind of like what it's like, I mean, first you got to fly with a rifle. You got to figure out the case, cut the foam out. Are you going to leave the gun assembled? Are you going to take the action out? You take the scope off. You got to figure out how to fly with a rifle. Then you got to get a 44-57, which is for us it's a way to prove that we own that equipment, so we can get it back into the States without duty or taxes. But for every other country in the world, they see that as our proof of ownership or our legal right to own a firearm. So you go down to the Homeland Security, get a 44-57 with the barrel, since they use barrels, not actions. And then you're right. We needed guys that could afford both financially and vacation time to take 3 weeks to go to South Africa. And they have to sacrifice vacation that year with their family, and there's a certain amount of expense involved. We were able to raise some funds this cycle from the NRA, from team raffles, from our sponsors, and so we were able to pay for all the match fees and the hotels. But everything else, the food and the airline tickets, that's all on the shooters.
The another thing I figured out about the 44-57 is you actually needed At least I needed it to claim my rifle on the way back,
Yes.
to get it, to actually get my rifle. I thought it was just a way to, not pay taxes
Hmm.
like everything else that I made assumptions about. But when I went to go get my rifle in Atlanta, I found out that I only had one 4457. I didn't have the other one. So, luckily I had took a picture of it.
Yeah.
So I go in there and I said, "Hey, I only have one of them, but here's the picture." And I'm gonna give him a little. I'm gonna cut him a little slack, the customs officer, because he was the only one there, and he had a line of people, you know,
Yep.
60 deep or so,
No.
with multiple rifles. So he was not in a good mood. Then I come in with only one 4457. He was not happy,
Yeah.
and he threw out some threats at me that he could literally confiscate my rifle, and I was gonna need a broker to get it back and all that. But obviously, he had been processing rifles for the entire
Right.
team, so he knew I was with the team. So he cut me a little slack, and he used the one on my
Yeah.
phone. But he said, so the point is, get your
Yeah.
4457s. You gotta have one have one with you, and then gotta have one in your rifle case. That's another thing I
Yep.
did not realize.
Yeah.
So
And
it's very
yeah,
important.
we required all of our guys to put all that information in a Dropbox folder so we could use it to send the permits in, and we kept all that stuff in there. I'm not sure if he would have accepted a
Well, he said
PDF.
nothing electronic.
Yeah.
Nope. He, like I said, I had. But anyway, the point is, it's
Yeah. Yep.
4457s
If
are
you don't
very
know what they
important.
are, you'll get really familiar with them if you ever come through customs on the way back in.
Well, the other thing that we did is, right, we had them all filled out, and then like a month before we were scheduled to leave,
Mm.
the ones that we had. So when you get it, it's good for a year. However, about a month before we were scheduled to leave, they actually came out with a brand new form, and the ones that we had were no longer
Valid.
good enough. They were no longer valid. So we all had to go back.
I know.
Anyway, so these are things that happen. So just want to make sure that everybody knows that, hey, there's a lot involved. You don't just say, I'm going to South Africa and just show up.
Yeah, and it is, I think, fairly country dependent, but yeah, South Africa was a real challenge, but we made it.
Yeah, we sure did. So we all fly out. I don't even know when. Uh,
April,
April? No, we're 17th?
March
So
17th. Yeah.
March. Yeah, St. Patrick's
Hmm.
Day. So, and it was anyway, it was a show just to get down there, because I had to get myself to Atlanta, or everybody did, and then from there we pretty much, the whole team, or the majority of the team, got on one plane, and we all headed down to South Africa. And we get there, got to spend the night in a hotel, right? Because we didn't want to be traveling at night.
Right.
Then the next day, you scheduled the bus. Well, TR and Open got together, scheduled the bus. Uh, but the rifles had to travel with the shooters, right?
Yep.
So the rifles had to be in the bus, and the bus was pulling a small trailer. And then guys rented a separate van for all the luggage. So anyway, it became quite involved pretty quick.
Yeah. Quite the show.
Yeah, but we made it. So, let's talk about team selection, because that's going to happen. That's coming up again. But previously, you kind of did something a little different with coaching than most had done in the past. What was that, and why did you do it?
Well, we didn't try out coaches. We picked coaches, and we went through basically the last 4 years of Southwest Nationals and just looked at the most successful coaches. And, Bob and Trudy really stuck out as some of the coaches that seemed to, be most consistently successful in the four-man team matches that we shoot in those big matches. And then we needed a back coach. The back coach has a whole different set of responsibilities than a line coach. And with your relationship with Bob and Dale's kind of relationship with Trudy, it just made sense to put two back coaches there. Let each back coach kind of communicate with their front coach, and to be honest with you, just all four work together. It is truly a different animal to shoot an 8-man team than a 4-man team. I think so many people just think that it's two separate 4-man teams shooting next to each other, and it's really not. And so having an extra back coach back there, I think, was a great thing.
Yeah. Well, obviously it worked out, so we're
Yeah.
happy about that. So obviously I think everybody knows how it went. We got the World Championship, which is a big deal because the U.S. had not won since when?
2002 on the big
Since
targets.
Yeah. So USA won in 2002, and we had not won in 21 years, which is kind of crazy, honestly. But anyway, we won it again. So now it starts all over again. You were reelected as team captain, 26. Now it's a short cycle, right? Because we
No.
extended the last one so much that they're trying to kind of catch up again. And so the next one's a short cycle, 3-year. England. What's that going to be like?
Well, a short cycle is a bit of a problem. We need to get moving. We need to get the team selected so we can get down to, you know, getting the coaches to work together and getting shooters to, learn and understand what it is to shoot on an 8-man team in a world championship. Plus, we got fundraising to do. We got NRA, money to try and chase down. And, some of those groups only meet once or twice a year. So, it's a short cycle is a bit of a problem. There's a lot of work to be done other than just trying to put some shooters and coaches together. So, so we're trying to get started quickly. We're going to be shooting tryouts here in June. So,
Yeah, coming up quick. Before we get past this World Championship, let's go ahead and name the team members because I think they all deserve
yeah.
recognition because this was a big deal.
Yeah. So on our 16-man team, we had Bill Kalaji, Emil Kovan, Addison Muller, Pat Scully, Shiraz Balolia, Ken Dickerman, Steve Zock, Keith Wheel, Todd Hendricks, John Sigler. For the coaching staff, we had Bob Siebold, Trudy Fay, Eric Cortina, Dale Carpenter, and then I was captain and Pete Rickey was co-captain. For the Rutland team, we had David Christian, David Kokobza, Brian Blake, Brian Bowling, Walter Lang, Franklin Van Wy, Katie and Casey Blankenship.
Yeah. So, again, big team. The Rutland team, they actually got a gold medal at the Nationals, and then they got a silver at the Rutland. So, quite a few medals that we picked up while we were down there.
Yeah, the Rutland team did great. I was really proud of them.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's the entire team. Lots of work that went into it, and again, I'm glad we pulled it off because it was the same amount of work.
That 16-hour flight home was a hell of a lot better with a gold medal.
Yeah, that ain't no lie, man. Especially after all the crap that we had to go through with the canceled flight and it's back on and just rushed. Anyway. So now the new team selection starts. Like I said, there's a tryout in June. Those that want to try out, who's eligible and how do they go on about it?
So interestingly enough, in all the years I've been involved with this team, the level and the quality and the numbers of shooters continues to go up and up and up. In the 2017 team, I was more recruited. I didn't really know anything about the team, and was kind of chased down by Rick Jensen, and you need to come try out, you need to do this, and I ended up shooting with the team. Last year we had some pretty solid shooters.
So yeah, so the talent pool just keeps growing, which is a good thing.
Right.
So, uh, is there a minimum requirement to try out for the
Yeah.
team?
So for this cycle, we did have to set a minimum requirement. There'd be 150 shooters out there if we didn't. So you need to have placed in the top 30 in the U.S. Nationals or Southwest Nationals in the last 3 years. We need you to be shooting on a 4-man team regularly at those big matches. You need to be a high master classification with the NRA, and you need to shoot. You need to be consistently, regularly shooting. And even with those, what I would consider fairly stiff qualifications, we've already got 45 or 50 people that are going to want to try out. So and we're looking for 25, maybe 30 shooters to kind of run as a team. And of those 30, we're going to take 18, maybe 20 shooters with us. And 4 of those will end up shooting on either team when we get there. But, they're going to have important roles to do and still be a part of our team. But it's going to be a tough road to hoe to make it into those, 15 shooters.
The we should touch on that. I mean, just because obviously not everybody's going to be a shooter,
Mm-hmm.
but I think they need to understand that that doesn't mean you're less of a member, right?
Exactly. Right.
I mean, you weren't a shooter.
Mm-mm.
Pete wasn't a shooter. I mean, pretty much, in a way, being a captain disqualifies you from being a shooter,
Yeah, it does.
and you, so you pretty much have to put up with a lot of BS, and you don't get to shoot. However, you're part of the team, right?
Yep.
Same thing with scorekeepers. That is an incredibly important job, and most people may not realize it on the surface how important it is to be a
Mm-hmm.
scorekeeper, because number one, you have to be reliable. Uh, you have to be on top of your stuff,
Mm-hmm.
just in order to be a good scorekeeper. Same thing with coaching, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to shoot. I was coaching.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. That's just part of what it takes to put a team together. But at the end of the day, when we all
Mm-hmm.
won, the medal doesn't say scorekeeper
Right.
behind it.
No. Yeah.
it's just gold medal, and it's for the Team USA, and that's something that I think a lot of people over the years have kind of been a little bit of well, I don't want to be a scorekeeper, or I don't want to be a whatever. Well,
Yeah.
you just need to be a team player,
In cycles previously, I've heard people say, "Well, I'm not going if I'm not going to shoot," and I didn't understand that. I was just felt lucky to be on the team. In this cycle, every one of our guys was absolutely a team player. We had a couple of guys that guns weren't real tight, and they were very gracious about, yeah, absolutely. It's guns not tight. I'll keep score. I'll do whatever you need me to do. We had guys that lent guns. We had guys that shot off guns that weren't theirs. I mean, it was pretty impressive to be around the group of guys we had this cycle and how much they all made a lot of sacrifices and never complained once about the role that they played on the team at the end.
yeah, yeah. It was good stuff, man. So tryouts are going to be in June. Like you said, the team's going to get the initial tryout is going to weed out probably about 50% of the shooters,
Mm-hmm.
roughly, give or take,
Yep.
depending on how many show up. And then, you got 3 years, well, like not even 3, right?
Right.
Because you got to have the team selected, like the final team.
Yep.
What's that going to be like for those that are wondering?
Yeah, so we'll get it down to a manageable size, and then our guys, we shoot tryouts probably a day. It's probably gonna be one full day after each major match, national, Southwest Nationals, maybe a 2-day event once a year in between. We're just gonna work out the shooters and the coaches. All the shooters are gonna be evaluated on vertical shooter ability. Um, Personal success, individual success, team success throughout the years. They're all going to kind of compete, and we're going to rank them uh, in the team. Uh, and we're probably going to have to cut 4 or 5 guys maybe as we get close to the end, because or not cut them, keep them, but we're gonna at some point create a traveling team, and that traveling team will be the guys that we can afford to pay for to get to Bisley, and then once we get to Bisley, all that ranking that those guys have done and all that placement they've competed for is gone. In Bisley, we're going to evaluate every individual's rifle, those individuals, those shooters that are there, and we're going to pick the best shooters and the best guns, and we're going to take the very best we can to the line on those 2 days.
Yep, absolutely. So, obviously, we had not won gold in 21 years. Now we got it. So now we need to do it again.
Absolutely.
And I think laying out a path for future captains to follow.
I actually ran into
Put USA back on top.
Emil Preslak this morning out at the range.
Uh-huh.
And we were talking. I was asking him about what exactly does he see as the back coach's job, their responsibility, and we were talking about how I took this team 4 years ago. I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I made decisions by the seat of my pants every day, big decisions, and after having done that for a cycle. There's a million things I'd do differently now. Now that I know, but historically speaking, every 4 years, we get a new captain, and they start from scratch. There's no plan. There's no manual. And so I've been sitting down since about 6 months ago, trying to put together a manual, for captains and coaches, and just for the team. And at the end of that manual is going to be a place for like captain's notes. And it's going to be just everything you've learned that you didn't know. And the next captain will be able to gather all that information. And then when he goes through his cycle, he can put in his notes. And then he walks away. If you look at the Palma team, the Brits, their Palma team has exactly that. And they're always so successful. If you go to Bisley, England, and pull out a drawer, there's almost certainly a manual there that has captain's notes going all the way back to, probably before 2000. And all that information isn't lost every cycle. It's just passed along. So I'm going to start a manual, and we're going to start a captain's. And one of the captains, hopefully in the future, one of their main responsibilities is going to be putting in there all of the stuff they've learned that they wish they had known, what they saw about this range. Oh, it's best to get the guys to the airport if you have to stay the night at the airport the night before. What's it take to get a no wind zero on a range with wind, and all that stuff that we just kind of had to figure out will be there for the next cycle. And so, like you had mentioned previously, we're trying to set up a legacy. There's no reason with the caliber coaches and shooters we have that we shouldn't just dominate this match year after year after year.
Yeah, I agree. And, I'll do whatever I can to help.
I appreciate it. I'm probably gonna take you up on some of that.
Oh yeah, no problem. So, what did Presley have to say?
No, nothing.
I'm always interested in
Yeah.
what he has to say.
Well, I said, "Hey, how you doing?" I was going to ask a question, and then he talked for about 20 minutes. But
Yeah,
but he's such a wealth of information and such a nice guy. Always so willing to give. I ask him some stupid questions, and he shakes his head, and then he tells me all about it. So no, I'm not sure he was doing out there. They had a rifle. I was just putting my stuff away when he came out, but yeah, it's always great to see him, and I can't help but ask questions every time I see him because he's just got so much knowledge.
yeah, yeah, he does. So, in the past, talking about things that captains have done in the past. Back in the day, they've actually, I don't know, I'm going to say it wasn't a suggestion back then, but it was kind of a requirement to have a certain cartridge.
Hmm.
Nowadays, basically, as you know, it's notoriously windy. Uh, and, the 2009 Team USA, they brought over 6.5 284s. And basically, UK, they were already moved. They had already moved over to Magnums, 7 millimeters, and a lot of people attributed their success to the big Magnums. So 2013, we were all asked to build Magnums, and the Australians showed up with 284s and took the gold. Right.
Yeah.
So nowadays, it seems to be a big push for the Magnums, even in the United States. But the PRCW being one of them. Is there going to be? Do you see yourself putting in
Yeah.
some kind of a requirement or a limit, or are you just going to let it kind of shake itself out and just kind of
Nah, I mean,
go where it
yeah, I'm
goes?
a little reluctant to put a mandate in. If I had my druthers, everybody'd shoot the 7.65 PRCW. I think it's a great cartridge. It's to me proven itself in the short time it's been mainstream. I think I'm on my second barrel of a variant of that cartridge, and in that short amount of experience, I feel pretty comfortable with it. And it would be nice to have everybody shooting the same uh, cartridge. Be a little bit easier on coaches. It'd be easier for people to swap guns back and forth, ammo back and forth if necessary. But the problem is just that some of our guys just aren't comfortable shooting magnums. Magnum, shooting a magnum in the States doesn't always work well because we mostly string fire. But, we pair fire or during the individuals, and then we do string fire for the world team events. But it's I don't know. In the perfect world, yeah, I'd like to have everybody shooting a Magnum, but I just can't put that mandate in there because there's enough good shooters that just aren't comfortable shooting Magnums. So what we've done is kind of a middle ground between those two is try to pair up rifles on the line. We'll have a 284 shoot next to a 284, and then a 7.65 PRC shoot next to the same gun, and then we'll put some 300s together. So I'm reluctant to put a mandate in. Do I think it'd be nice? Yeah, but a little reluctant to do that yet.
I think the Magnums are making enough of a splash nowadays that in 3 years from now, it probably
Yeah,
everybody's going to be shooting some kind of a
and if
Magnum just because of like you said, the 7 PRCW is just
yeah,
it's just taking
and
over.
if
I mean,
if if anybody that is shooting on this team or has shooted on this team or going to shoot on this team, I would strongly encourage you to give it a test run because you might be surprised at how easy it is to tune and how flat it shoots. And yes, I would love everybody to be shooting that cartridge. I'm not ready to mandate that yet, but for those people that haven't tried it or shy about it, I'd try it, see where it gets you.
Yeah. And, well, I mean, we had 284s in South
Hmm.
Africa, and like you said, we just paired them together, and 284 is a easy button. It's been for a long
Yeah.
time, but anyway, so I don't know, man. What else is there to to prepare for? I think England's going to be a little bit easier in the sense of getting to that
Yeah,
place.
I agree. We're some of us, you included, are going over there in September, and we filled out our permits, and it's a 1 page, 7 question deal. It's nothing, nothing.
Right.
And then so you send that in with your 4457, and you register to become a member of the Great Britain F Class Association, and that's it. So I think logistically speaking, it should be a lot easier. Fundraising is going to be tough. It's We don't have enough time to organize all of the raffles we did in the past, so we're going to scramble a little bit on that. But I don't think it'll be nearly as challenging as South Africa was. Just challenging in every single way. It seemed like every week I was getting my butt kicked and getting a phone call from a sponsor or somebody that wasn't happy about this or that, and it's just endless emails about ammo being not shipped. So I suspect it'll just be so much more pleasant, at least on my part, to get a team to Bisley, England.
Yeah. So on the you talked about the sponsors, obviously huge help,
Yeah,
right? So if you want to be a sponsor,
yeah.
contact Dan Bramley. Where can they reach you at?
Uh, we are using USAFopen@gmail.com.
Okay, so if you want to help, if you want to promote the team, reach out to Dan and see if you guys can work out something that's beneficial to you and the team
Yeah.
as well. Uh, so getting to Bisley, it's going to be, we discussed it's a lot easier. But before we talk about that, let's talk about South Africa because there was a lot. There was a lot of talk about, security
Hmm.
possibly issues, and I tell you what, man, I really enjoyed my time down there.
Yeah.
It was, I'd go back in a heartbeat.
Hmm. Pete and I were down there in 19, and we went by ourselves and had no idea what we were doing. And, we felt pretty safe. Then they had all the uprising in 2021. And there's a lot, you hear a lot uh, from people that have never been there. But if you've been there, it's not a unsafe place.
Right, and the people were amazing. I mean, everybody there was just so welcoming. The food was great.
Hmm.
I mean, everything. I kept having those little milk tarts. I don't know if you
Oh
had any
yeah.
of those. Those things are friggin' amazing. But
Can you drive 5 miles and have a lion screaming at you across a chain link fence?
yeah, not very many places. Most of the zoos around here, they tell you there's a lion, but you go and
Yeah.
you see a little leg, and I'm like, is there really a lion attached to that thing?
Right.
uh, so obviously Bisley is going to be hopefully easier,
Hmm.
right? I've been there. I was there last year. I'm going again this year, and I plan on going every year until the World Championship. Again, the people are just amazing. It seems like that's the beauty about F class that I've noticed, and the other shooting sports are very similar. Just the people are just freaking amazing. They're so welcoming. Uh, I have no doubt if you need a rifle and somebody has a spare one, even an opponent, they'll let you use it.
No.
That's just the type of people that they are.
Yeah. That's probably what drew me into this sport more than anything else. It's just the people are some of the nicest people I've ever met. When Madison was little, I had no qualms. If I had an emergency, I needed to go, that they would take care of her for the rest of the match and give a ride home if I needed it.
Yeah, yeah, good people, man. You know, as you know, I had my daughter out there as well,
Yep.
shooting for a few years,
Yep.
and uh, as you know, it's like F class is not the type of sport that said, well, you know, you were your daughter. I mean, you can request it, but I was like, nope,
Nope.
just let her do her own thing, and she'd be on one side of the range, I'd be on the
Yep.
other, and you know, somebody was always helping her
Yep. Watching out for
set
her.
up or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so great sport. So anyway, we're gonna get another gold.
Absolutely. No question.
Yeah, no question. I don't have a question about it.
No.
So anyway, we'll do that in 26. Everybody get ready. Set your clocks.
Gear it up.
And uh, man, I look forward to the new cycle, to the new teammates,
Yep.
and see how it's gonna shake out. I think we have a really good pool to pick from,
Yeah.
and
It's exciting looking at the talent of the shooters we're bringing out, and with the coaching staff and the shooters that are coming out. I mean, it's very exciting.
yep, I'm excited. Dan, anything else?
Nope, that's it, man.
All right, man. Oh, by the way, we didn't even talk about your face being on the burger bullets. Like
Shit.
that's the guy. If he looked familiar this whole time,
Just
that's the guy. Oh, I should. Do you have a box of? Do you have a box of? Anyway, I wish I did.
just pretend this is
dropped-
all brown and not gray. This is what 4-year or 6-year cycle do to you.
Anyway, so if you look familiar, that's why.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, Dan. Well, thanks for being here, and I'll see you on the firing line.
All right, Eric. Thank you.
All right, man. Take care.
You too.
See ya.
See ya.